The first sentence of my confidential evaluation of Daniel Orozco for last semester's course. Daniel Orozco is truly brilliant, and his understanding of fiction is truly humbling for those of us who are students. The rest will remain confidential. Seriously, Daniel has an incredible ability, in fact, a kind of fiction X-ray vision that can look through a story, look at a story, and cut through all of its dressings and accoutrements and just get to the structure. And it's an incredible, valuable experience to be one of his students. He's a former Stanford University Stegner Fellow and an award-winning author of the short story collection Orientation, and today he will be reading from his new work, A Novel in Progress. Thank you. Please welcome.
All right, I believe. All right, let's get going. This is from untitled novel, unfinished novel. I affectionately called it the goddamn novel. Not so affectionate anymore these days, but one of the protagonists in this novel her name is Nev, and this is a brief flashback to her this character's mother's life. She was born in Laramie, an only child to a couple in their early 40s who'd given up all hope of conceiving. She was their miracle baby. She first met Nev's father one weekend in July at a craft fair during Jubilee days. She was 16. He was a knife maker, and Renee and her girlfriends descended upon him. That's the mother, Renee. Renee and her girlfriends descended upon him, surrounding his booth, screaming and laughing, giddy from the heat and the arrogance of youth. He had stringy brown hair, bleached from the sun. His skin was tanned and wrinkled. He could have been 20, or he could have been 50. Lean and muscled, in tight blue jeans and an unbuttoned shirt. He wore a rope necklace threaded with tiny pink shells. His feet were bare and rough-hewn, crossed at the ankles as he sat in a folding chair and looked up at them. "Are you a hippie?" they shouted at him. "Are you a beach bum?" Renee and her girlfriends could be brutal, roaming in a pack, mouthy and pretty, surrounding a boy and teasing him. The knife maker smiled, affected an accent. "I am Gypsy," he shouted. And the girls screamed and clapped and fell upon each other and swarmed away as quickly as they'd arrived, disappearing into the strolling crowds. The next day, Renee came back alone. He showed her his wares, opening locked cases and slipping knives into her hands. They were fixed blade instruments, full tanged, each with a single piece of carbon steel that he heated and hammered himself. The blades were satin finished. Some had their naked steel handles polished bright as a mirror. You could see your face in them. Others were embedded into contoured cores of burnished wood or buffalo bone or elk horn, nubby to the touch. One had a leather handle, strips of soft split leather wrapped again and again, 30 yards of it, he told her. It was beautiful, a beautiful primitive thing, demonic and heavy in her palm. The handle was soft, and it gave when she held it tightly. She could feel a pulse in it. A fat, sturdy feather, iridescent red, was knotted into the leather at the butt cap. "Falcon," the knife maker said. He ran his thumb on the blade to show her how sharp he'd made it. He drew blood, put his thumb on his mouth, and sucked the wound. Renee knew what a falcon feather looked like, plus his hands were as smooth and unblemished as her own. They were the hands of a liar, not a knife maker, but she didn't care. She would turn 17 in 2 months. She was a straight A student and would probably be valedictorian at graduation next year. Everybody expected her to enroll at UW here in town. She didn't do drugs and drank only a little. Her friend Melanie was teaching her how to smoke cigarettes. And she was not a virgin, so she knew what was what. She was a profoundly discontented girl, bored out of her mind in Laramie and impatient to leave, to get to her life. She imagined a life as being a place you arrived at, relieved and out of breath, and she wanted to get to it now. In her head, she often referred to herself in the third person. Where will she be in 5 years? What will become of her? Although it wasn't so bad in Laramie, she had to admit, it was a good life. She had friends, she was popular, she dated if she felt like it. But all the boys were boring, as were the urgent intimacies of late-night phone calls with her girlfriends. Her mother was all sweetness and love, kind and eager to please, and so grateful for the blessings of a daughter that Renee wanted to strangle her. And her father, he had once been a reserved man, stern but never unkind, dour and shy in the way that fathers were. But when Renee hit puberty, he was the one who blossomed into a peculiar adolescence. He reached for her often, kissed her clumsily. These displays of affection were new and most likely benign. He called her the prettiest girl in the room whenever she walked in, and like a lovesick boy, all of his attention shifted to her. He owned a chain of carpet showrooms in Wyoming, and he was very well off, and he never denied his daughter anything. She used to wheedle gifts out of him, loved the game of manipulation and surrender that they played with each other. She loved that he would let her get what she wanted from him, but now he gave freely. Dressy clothes and jewelry, even a little red car, a Dodge Colt just off the showroom floor. These were gifts for a girlfriend, not for a daughter. What had happened to him? He didn't scare her. She was not afraid of him. He was her father after all. But it was embarrassing. People would look at each other. Your dad's creepy, her friends told her. And he was. Sunday evening, she left home after supper telling her parents she'd be going to Melanie's, and she was headed there, but walked to the fairgrounds instead. It was the last of the Jubilee days, but there were still lots of people on foot, most of them streaming away. The carnies were pulling down the amusement rides, and the rodeo trucks were rumbling out of town. It was dusk, and it was going to be a red sunset, and the trucks kicked up clouds of dust, lit up primeval in the waning light. She saw him loading a VW bus, watched him from afar. He was wearing sneakers and the same shirt from a few days ago, but all buttoned up and tucked into his jeans. He slammed the side door and turned around as if he knew she was there all along. And she approached him. "Hello, gypsy girl," he said. He climbed into the driver's seat, started up the engine, then leaned over and swung the passenger door open. She got in. They headed west on Interstate 80, into the sun. In the glove box, she found a cheap pair of sunglasses and she put them on. A song she liked was on the radio. She kicked off her shoes and put her bare feet up on the dash, rolled down the window, hot air whipped in. What will happen to her now? She watched Laramie recede in the side view mirror. As far as she knew, no one had come looking for her, and she never went back. He bought knives from real craftsmen and resold them as his own. After half a year of, what else to call it, gypsy life, of traveling to fairs and malls, rodeos and truck shows, he ditched her in Portland, Oregon. He left her with $100 and 2 knives, a 9-inch Bowie knife of Damascus steel with the staghorn handle, and a 4-inch full-tang Cherokee boot knife with a wrapped leather handle. She sold the Bowie knife for $300. It was worth far more, and tore the feather off the boot knife and kept it, and vowed and vowed never to be left again. She spoke it aloud, dramatically, self-consciously, just her and her duffel bag in a desolate picnic area in Riverfront Park as she flung the knife again and again into the bark of an ancient oak tree during a gray, turbulent sunset with a single golden shaft shooting out of it. If anybody did the leaving, it was going to be her. Thank you.